Hey, White Sox fans, guess what? It's another podcast. I think this is 89. I don't really care. The lockout's still going on. We've got more bad news. These sides can't get along. I'm so disinterested and disassociated with this podcast. I don't really care to give a proper intro. So I think I'm going to, once Jacki Krestel quiets her microphone, I'm going to kick it off to everyone else to perhaps talk, although I don't know, we are now in traffic, I believe, with Jacki. I'm not sure if we're going to get out of traffic. We're trying to roll up the windows. We rolled up the windows. The auto windows do work. We are back. It is podcast 89 and a perfect way to kick things off. Who Gives a Shit podcast about the lockout. Hi, I'm Brett Ballantini. I'm hosting this podcast and my energy level is just picked up. Hey, there's people here. I guess we got enough. So let's just go around the big people table and talk about, I guess this has been about a week. Maybe it hasn't been a week. It seems like about a year since we last had one of these podcasts discussing disappointment, canceled games. Let's catch everybody up who doesn't already know. Opening day is now April 14th, right? No earlier than April 14th. Bunch of games wiped off the slate again today because the two sides could not get together. Now we have fans clamoring for players just to take a deal because it's enough. And I'm really tired of the bootlicking, but whatever. I'll chime in at the end of all this. It looks to me like in the top corner, I'm going to take Zach Hayes to block. Zach Hayes joins us. Zach, hey, where are you at with more games canceled?
Man, kind of the same place I'm at for every bloody podcast we do this winter. Like it only really did start to sink in this week or within the last week or so that like we should be having baseball right now. And yeah, someone is quite unhappy about this. Actually, my cat is coming to voice her displeasure, but yeah, it really only just started to hit me within the last 10 days or so. Like we should be having baseball right now and we don't. But I'm almost just kind of numb. They keep they're loosey pulling the football back, and we are going to be sitting on our hands until April, like we have prognosticated for months. It just sucks to see it born to fruition.
Appreciate the input from the cat, and I definitely hope in the second half of the podcast we'll hear more from him or her. Oh, even a cameo. Gotta love a pet cameo. Pretty much every podcast has a pet cameo. Tommy Barbee. Boy, we really kicked off this offseason in a happy note. Well, not always. There was a lot of disgruntlement that went along with Soxivus, but Father Soxivus, disappointing turn of events, not entirely unexpected today, but hey, where are you at?
I had a glimmer of optimism because it seemed like the talks had distilled down to tangible things that I thought could be agreed upon, and then MLB went full Morpheus and they were like, hey, you could have the international draft, but we need to implement it immediately without any forethought, or we could pretend like this conversation never happened and revisit all of this bullshit again in 3 years. And it was just like, what kind of weird Jedi mind trick did they think that they were pulling off? And I'm back to where I started from, which is we probably won't have baseball until July. I don't see the owners giving in. They just keep pulling in all these streaming deals right and left. So it's not like they're losing money. They're continuing to get money, even though they don't have a product right now. I know Jackie Robinson Day is a very romantic starting point for opening day, but I don't think that a bunch of owners that clearly don't care about labor agreements are going to care about Jackie Robinson, but maybe I'm wrong. But I just don't see anything coming to fruition before this summer.
That's right, Tommy. Briefly last night in another guys, we had some brief hand-to-hand or tweet-to-tweet combat over your optimism that I was trying to rain on and ghoul away. Oh, hooray for me. I was right. God bless you for your optimism.
Aren't you glad
Tommy.
you're right about this?
It feels so good. All right, she's at least 2 drinks in, and Lord knows she deserves about a dozen more because she has been the one carrying the load, carrying the mail throughout this whole labor crisis. Oh, so much fun. Listen, it's real fun to edit, so it's got to be great to write. It's Kristina Airdo. Kristina, oh, you're close to the situation, right from your couch. Where are you at with this?
I don't even know at this point. I'm kind of at the same with Tommy and Zach, like you guys were saying. I mean, I'm just really irritating at this point. Like, yes, we got close, and like, I too was kind of optimistic for a minute, especially when, I mean, you have to take everything Bob Nightingale says with a grain of salt. But he really drags you in. It's kind of brutal. But yeah, so today, like at the end, when the players like offered that last, that deal where they're like, hey, why don't we just like nix the qualifying offer and we'll revisit this. And if we can't get to a point, like, awesome. And Manfred offered that. And then like, they're just like, well, because of this deadline that we created arbitrarily and moved 6 million times, it's no deal. But then, games canceled. And then all of a sudden, an hour later, they're still talking about it. So at this point, I'm not really sure. I too am very pessimistic and think that we're probably not going to have games until, May would be really early. I'm thinking like June probably is like the more ballpark. I'm really hoping I'm wrong. And I've gone on a roller coaster of when I think they're going to start. But today was a whirlwind. Like, I don't really see why they needed to add the draft in like the last second like that, especially if you have like Scherzer has been there for pretty much every single meeting. I have no reason to believe that he's lying. So like, why toss that in at the last second, especially if it's been a topic that the players have kind of shot down and it wasn't in the forefront. Like, you got the money close, right? Move on and let's get like the guys playing baseball. Let's get them training and, keep going. But we'll see. I'm extremely pessimistic right now. I'm super not looking forward to writing this article as more details come out. I'll tell you that.
That's the energy we need for this. Kristina, as you well know, you're very close to this. I mean, in terms of that whole deadline thing, it came after the deadline. Listen, the owners, they do it right. They adhere to the Luis Robert rules of order. You cannot mess around with, if you're talking out of turn, no can do. So, again, you're close to it for us. Listen, thank you so much for doing what I don't want to do. And I don't think any of us want to do either. So appreciate what you're doing. And, if this turns out to be a 4-month assignment, sorry, you're in now. You got the tattoo already. Delia Ritchie, please give me some insight on how you're feeling about things at this moment.
Well, as my dog's barking in the background, I can definitely give on some insight of we're all just fed up at this point. I'm obviously not fed up with the players' side. I say fight for your right to party, aka play. But what angers me the most is like, I have to think about this in pop culture terms and like what popular female artists, since it was International Women's Day, I have Taylor Swift in a time like this, and how the players are Taylor Swift and Rob Manfred is Scooter Braun, who was her former producer, former manager, who bought her masters without her permission. So I think about the players at a time like this. I think about Taylor Swift and how Rob Manfred is also the personification of John Mayer in terms of her ex-boyfriends, because he is just terrible and not a good guy. No, not apologizing to John Mayer in this situation because you know what you did. But it's just frustration and it's mounting and it's March. We should be watching spring training, but we're also like at a crossroads because we're like, we want you guys for what you believe in and what you want. And it's mainly just a back and forth of dogs barking and chaos.
Kristina, I'll have you know that when you do need to beg out, when you need to tap out for a day, again, don't recommend it because listen, you got the tattoo. I think Delia's onto something. And, I'm digging the metaphor. So I think when you need to sub out, Delia's on it for you. Okay, Jacki, if we're ever in need of some good vibes, we're in need of it now. I don't think you're going to provide them, but hey, why not?
I'm not. I'm over it, Brett. I'm over it. I'm still firmly on the side of labor, eat the rich, stick it to the man, the whole thing. And And I've been trying to hang in there, man. I've been trying to hang in there. And I'm a hopeless romantic, and I get lifted by any tweet that even has even the hint of a reason for optimism. When Tommy was optimistic, I'm like,
I'm
oh,
sorry.
now it's gonna go down. But it's breaking me. I'm very disillusioned with the whole process, and owners just being, I don't know, onery, because I'm over it. I'm over it, Brett.
Yeah. All right. No good vibes.
Sorry.
You're excused. You're excused. I wasn't expecting it. You're excused. This is pressure you put on yourself because you thought the White Sox were going to storm to the World Series or something way back when. But the nickname's sticking because I continue to use it.
No, I say, I don't know why I'm sitting here hoping for baseball when I know the White Sox are just going to disappoint me anyway. When it's all said and done.
I've thought of a lot of different rants. Do I usually rant on these? I don't think I do. And one of them did involve, what the hell are we? We're White Sox fans. They've won one World Series. They've been to one World Series in the Reinsdorf tenure. They've been to two ACLS. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic, and yet it just rips at our hearts. And another thing that's troubled me today, particularly, as this back and forth, not knowing, hey, listen, sorry, Tommy. I mean, I just had to be cynical. It's the easy position to take at this point. Nihilism is rocking these days in baseball for sure. Is, how close some of this even comes to our, situation. Remember, guys, we're getting paid a penny a listen. So let's divide that up smartly. I will all buy you one piece of bubble gum after this podcast is over. It's hard too. We've been seeing lately on Twitter, the Adopt a Minor Leaguer, I think. Great account. We've supported them in the past. I'd love to do more, but it's like, okay, right. I'm going to support a minor leaguer when I can hardly support my writers. It's very, well, I can't, hardly. It's very flattering. Good job, Brett. This is frustrating. And to play off what Jacki just said, I mean, I suppose listeners, readers get a little tired of our collective 50 staff wide attitude of stick it to the rich and the proletariat will rise up. But what are the positions you're supposed to take? Are you going to be a fool? Are you going to lick boots? Even today we're seeing, wow, the sides are getting close. Just take a deal. I'm seeing SPN people, on my other SPN Slacks. I'm seeing them saying, oh, really, you can't eat the whole elephant. Who's that guy, Maury Brown, talking about eating elephants? Eat the whole friggin' elephant. They're the players. Frustrating to me. I'm even cussing a little. Hey, you know what? SPN, let's go into your break now. Let's allow you to sell some stuff that I'm guessing an ad that will cost more than a penny per listen. I enjoy the vacations you're making off of our backs, and we'll be back in a minute. Hey, White Sox fans, come back. I know it's a lockout. You're tired of this shit. I am too. But we have to talk to you. Let's get in some podcasts while we can. We're getting those pennies. We're talking lockout. Among a terrific panel we have here is our labor beat writer, Kristina Airdo. Oh boy, she's so lucky. She's going to regret that she ever raised her hand. And a lot of other good vibe people, all of our great writers joining us here. Let's go into, I think some of you touched upon it in half number one, but now let's address this first. This notion of, okay, players, take the deal. You've got enough. The owners moved. The owners, let's point out, maybe 2 days ago began to bargain in good faith. Maybe 2 days ago, maybe yesterday. Time is really starting to melt on me. It has been this week that they have actually negotiated. And now a day or two later, players are supposed to fall over, beg for a few more scraps. Oh, I know they're millionaires or thousandaires or whatever. Max Scherzer's on his way to being a billionaire, whatever. But talk to me about this notion, and now it's a free-for-all to the room. Talk to me about this notion that the players, they need to be on the verge of jumping.
I guess I can jump in. I mean, the rhetoric changed so quickly of like, the owners are messing this up and, there was so much negativity towards them. And then as soon as there was even a halfway good deal, everyone was like, F the players, like take the deal. We want baseball, which is like, I super want baseball. Like I agree. I also agree that what the owners did offer was decent and better. But like, even Hendricks had said, like in a quote the other day, that like they'll toss something in at the last second, something that seems like it's potentially reasonable. And it's like, this hasn't been in the forefront. So why are we doing this now? So then, yeah, everyone tossing the players under the bus by just saying like, oh, they should just accept it solely so that we can have baseball back. Like, let's not forget that the owners initiated the lockout. Like the players didn't lock themselves out. So I just like blaming them wholeheartedly, the players. Like I understand the frustration, but they did counter offer and it was a very fair and decent offer. And the MLB said they were going to offer back. And then they were just like, actually, we're canceling another week of games and screw Jackie Robinson Day, basically. So like, I'm with Jacki. I'm so fed up with it. It's just like, it makes no sense. Honestly, that's what it is. Like, I'm a very rational person, or at least I like to think so. And when people are doing something so consistently irrationally, it's just like, it's really frustrating. Like, what are you guys doing at this point is really my question.
I think it's time to get worried when your labor writer is fed up. Okay, anybody else have ideas about how much elephant the players should be allowed to eat? They can't make up 30 years of bad bargaining in one. Okay, we all know that.
Well,
I think oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, as I was going to say, I think whatever 2 days ago when they started bargaining in good faith, that was like the love bomb part of the cycle with a narcissistic entity. And Dr. Jackie's coming out here like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I recognize the pattern. Get lost. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was similar. I think the problem with the timeline is that, for one, I can think of many previous CBA arrangements where the players would have agreed to this deal. And that in itself is kind of a problem, because we've all talked about how previous negotiations, the players have backed themselves so far into a corner that this had to be that make or break year. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, all of the folks that are saying, oh, you can't get all the, everything back immediately. You have to start somewhere. And this is the year that the Players Association decided that they're starting, and good for them for doing that. I think the other thing that I find kind of problematic is that by shelving all these issues into the international draft, I think you are introducing a whole interesting segment of people that don't necessarily care about the 14 or 15-year-old kid from the Dominican Republic that is now going to only make $30,000 because of a draft system, if that means they get to see their favorite player play every day. And that is, I think, an on-purpose tactic that MLB made, and it has made it a much uglier conversation publicly than it should be.
Spot on.
Yeah, there are a lot of white people on Twitter right now who are trying to talk over the Latin baseball players who have actually gone through that system, who seem to be pretty vehemently against the idea of an international draft if the reports are right. Yeah, like generally speaking, if billionaires weren't really good at PR, we would have cut their heads off already. So the thing that I just can't really wrap my head around is that their strategy has been pretty transparent this entire time in terms of trying to get public opinion on their side. So if you're one of these people that's falling for it and being like, really, an international draft is all it is that's stopping the season from taking place, like how do you not, you're playing right into, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. I mean, do you feel smart? I wouldn't personally. And to take it back to what Kristina started out with a little while ago, is that with the entire idea of putting the offer on the table, if the tweet that Max Scherzer put out a little while ago is in fact accurate, then if this was discussed a week or two ago, then and the players were as pretty vehemently, if not opposed, then starkly divided on it as they seem to be, then the owners knew full well that sticking it on to the end, as in exchange for something that affects 10 or 15 players a year, that's, of course it's going to be a non-starter. Of course it's not going to get approved by their self-imposed deadline. So I think it's, even to say they started negotiating in good faith a couple days ago, maybe might be giving them a little too much credit. It is also worth recognizing that the owners are not like a single faction either, that there's a lot of division within that camp as well. I mean, screw them all, but there's a lot more moving parts here than I think any of us are ever really going to be able to see or take in all at once. So if you're one of these people that's saying, oh, this is all it is, it's really just that, like, no, it's really probably not. Like, why are you doing their work for them? So, like, sorry, I don't know.
And I have to say too, like, I'm not even against the idea of the international draft, because I think you need to standardize the process of international signing. I just have a problem with the fact that MLB basically is assuming they can get this up and running immediately. And I thought David Ortiz made a really good point when he said, we're not that organized yet. It needs time to develop. And for the owners to kind of try to force this through, it really shows that they are looking at this as an opportunity to create as many loopholes as possible. Because if you look at the future MLB stars, they're international players. They're players coming from Cuba. They're players coming from the Dominican Republic. They're players coming from Japan. Like, you're not looking at American 4-year college or high school players that are being your primary drivers for the stars of the future of baseball. And the owners know that. And it's, to me, when you look at how low they're offering the back end of that draft, it is so blatantly obvious that they want to use that as leverage to create their own international farm system, basically so they can develop guys from 14 years old without any supervision or oversight.
Yeah, if you think that this international thing came up in good faith, or by accident, or was just the next thing on the list, we've got an elephant to sell you so you can eat some of it. It absolutely isn't, and you guys are hitting on it. It's insidious. And you know what? If it turned out that in this bargaining, Latin players have a louder voice than they should, or the average player, which I would highly doubt they do. Hey, you know what? It's only been 60, 70 years they've had virtually no voice. So maybe it's about time that Latin players get enough of a voice to stop a CBA from getting shoved down all players' throats. And Zach, good point. Owners are shady. I mean, I forget who it was, talking about them slipping in like weird ass language in that stuff nobody reads, and they just click, I agree. Like legitimate bargaining stuff in there, like somehow the players aren't going to notice. This is just another one in this like line of dominoes. Sorry to be anti-ownership. Sorry, we're all coming after you, Vox. Even Zach's cat is going to come after you, fat cats. I'm sorry that that's our position, but it ain't right. And it's pretty simple and straightforward for any thinking fan. I'm happy there are enough of us to have this discussion. Group optimism. That's your cue. Talk to me. Any.
I think there will be baseball at some point. I don't know when that's going to be, but I think it'll happen. We'll get a little bit. Well, we can have a little bit of baseball as a treat.
I'm probably the opposite of Jackie. I think there could be baseball, but there also couldn't be. I think it's really discouraging, the fact that they're canceling so many games, and they're basically going to disregard as what you said, the voice that Jackie Robinson provided throughout his whole career, and to just not honor that legacy due to a lockout is discouraging and disturbing. because after everything that happened in the last 2 years, you would think they would emphasize the players of color that blazed a trail for guys like Tim Anderson and guys like Loyola University's own Jerry Harkness for a random tie-in, and not so random. But you can't say you honor history or you honor the players that gave you that gave you culture, that gave you elements of anything, any personality. You can't say that and cancel games left and right because you decided that you're going to have a beef with Max Scherzer or something of that nature. If you're having a beef with Max Scherzer, I don't think you should be in any position of power or much less an owner, because Max Scherzer, I think, hopefully will be on the right side of history for this one. And I think that the ones that are against the ownership definitely are on the right side.
I mean, the free agent spree, whenever this does finally wrap up a week from now or a year from now, is going to be pretty fun, because they're going to have like 10 minutes to put pen to paper on all of the totally not agreed to during the lockout free agent contracts that are about to go down.
Exactly. There's going to be so few games left. It's just going to be per diem. It's like, who can offer the most per diem for the 3 games we're going to play?
Either there's going to be no games or there's going to be no money, because those greedy players just sucked up all those poor, baseball's not a very profitable business. So that's my optimism, is it's going to be pretty fun when that does happen. I don't know if I'll be on this earth to see it at this rate, but
we may not live.
I'll be looking up and watching it with relish.
Optimism might be the wrong cue, but optimism, Kristina, Tommy, optimism.
I don't know how I follow that up. Optimism, I guess, would be living to see the next season. But I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to get optimism, but every report that just keeps coming out is like extremely not optimistic. Yeah, I don't know. Unless Tommy has anything else to add there, optimism. No, I don't think so. It's just not looking good. That's pretty much how I can sum it up.
No, there's no optimism here. I think we're back to the players kind of assuming the worst and carrying on with their own stuff. And when the owners want to get serious, that's when the conversations will start again. I think what I have found the most problematic is that time and time again, ownership has instilled these random deadlines and then changed them and moved them. And I don't even know which deadline we're on anymore.
They're still talking.
It feels like every day there's some deadline where it's like, oh, now it's 9:59 p.m. and if we don't talk now, then 2 more weeks are canceled. It's just like, own it. Like, I don't get it.
Tommy, the one I like best is when now suddenly, like if they had made just one of these last deadlines, now suddenly you're going to time travel and the games that were canceled and like taken off everybody's ballpark apps or whatever, they're somehow back.
Yeah.
I like that. I want to know what science we're going to play baseball under, because I don't think
feels like arguing with my child. I have no idea what the hell they're doing right now. Like, it's just.
I think we have the title for this podcast.
Tommy, I was going to say that too. All of the owners' tactics reminds me of what my daughter did when she was 4 years old.
Yeah.
And when people are throwing a tantrum, you ignore it, and it'll go away. So good for the players, and hold your ground. Let them tire themselves out. When they want to get serious, they will.
And players at this point, we think, are just doing due diligence when they're talking about, okay, we're going to take it and, decide if there should be a vote. We're going to take it, we're going to bring it to more people. It's just mostly let's spread the manure around so it doesn't stink up one spot too badly, right? It's pretty much the guys taking the offers. No, it's going to be a no, but it's just sort of more like, I don't even think it's gamesmanship. It's just like, all right, well, what else do we have to do? They keep giving us crap offers, so we'll pretend we're looking it over. We'll take it really seriously. We'll cave a little more. Let's not forget, even though I made the false claim that owners have been bargaining in good faith for the last 5 minutes, they've been bargaining in some form of good faith. They're still winning every round. They're going to win the whole thing. Zach and I talked about this seems like 6 months ago. They're going to win the whole thing no matter what. It's just how much they're going to win, how much of a lopsided score it is. even now, when it's like they're finally seeing eye to eye, players are still giving more than owners are. When owners even take one step forward, that seems like, what? They haven't done that for 6 months, and now they suddenly are. Now it's like we're supposed to celebrate and throw a parade. Players are at this point are rightfully wary.
And they should be. I mean, I know it hasn't amounted to much for this next year, but for anyone that cares and wants to see the future growth of baseball, pay very close attention to the streaming deals that are happening right now. And look at what happened in Hollywood 10 years ago with collective bargaining for the writers and producers, and how streaming really screwed things up in terms of negotiations. There's going to be a lot of money there, and the owners have already moved on to it. So yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, there's like way more stuff that's not even on the table. The owners keep bringing these weird things out of the shutout back, but there's like legit stuff that the players really aren't even touching, and they are going to touch. You want to get like a 10-year deal if you can, ownership, and give them a little bit more if you want to, because then you just get to steal for a while before CBA time comes up again. Well, this was a bullshit podcast, but I did not have bullshit guests. I appreciate all 5 of you for joining me. Hey, you know what? I don't like to promise things, but we may have a real special treat tomorrow, just to give you guys just some fun, some real cause for optimism. We'll see if it pans out. The first time I tried to do it, the subject I was going to talk to got his car stolen. Let's hope the car stays safe, and I can give you a little extra treat tomorrow. Hey, thanks everybody for joining. And if you are reading, listening, please stick with Southside Sox. We're making a run at it. We're going to try to keep informing you, led by our patron saint of the Labor Talks, Kristina Airdo. Thank you all, and we'll be back with another podcast probably sooner than you want one. Take it easy.